It was a throwback to an earlier, more contentious era in U.S.-Cuba relations.
Now that I am your president, America will expose the crimes of the Castro regime and stand with the Cuban people in their struggle for freedom.
During his speech in Miami's Little Havana, President Donald Trump renewed his support for U.S. sanctions on Cuba, effectively freezing the 2-year-old normalization of ties between the two countries.
We will not lift sanctions on the Cuban regime until all political prisoners are freed, freedoms of assembly and expression are respected, all political parties are legalized, and free and internationally supervised elections.
But although Trump claimed to be canceling what he called the Obama administration's completely one-sided deal with Cuba, it was actually much less than that. Key aspects of Barack Obama's Cuba policies will remain. Diplomatic ties will not be severed. Embassies in Havana and Washington will stay open. And though there are fresh restrictions on U.S. tourists and businesses that want to invest in Cuba, even those moves aren't as severe as some had expected.
Although travel is restricted, it's not prohibited. And although business is restricted to some Cuban enterprises, it's not prohibited either.
William Leo Grant, a scholar of U.S.-Cuba relations, warns Trump's actions may not accomplish his stated goal of improving human rights conditions.
When relations have been bad, the Cubans have really hunkered down with a kind of a siege mentality. And the result has typically been that they constrict the political space available for internal critics and opponents and dissidents. So I'm afraid this policy is going to be counterproductive.
Another casualty could be Cuban business people who'd begun to thrive as U.S. tourists flocked to the island, says Andrew Otazo, speaking via Skype.
If you restrict the ability of American citizens to travel to Cuba, you're going to directly impact the sector in which individual private business owners are most involved in Cuba.
Trump's Cuba policy was crafted in large part by two conservative lawmakers, Senator Marco Rubio and Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart.
Thank you, President Trump, for keeping your commitments. You have not betrayed us.
A promise kept to Florida's Cuban Americans, one of Trump's most important constituencies. Bill Gallo, VOA News, Washington.